Yo, what up, everybody? It's me, TricksterShadow, and today I thought I would make another video of me talking at you guys with a notepad because apparently you guys liked it so much a couple days ago that I thought I'd make it again. If this is something that you guys enjoy, just listen to me ramble on about how DBD could be better and what could make DBD better, or the current state of DBD. So if you haven't seen it, a couple days ago I made a video talking about the grind in DBD and how extensive it is, pretty much summarizing the video. If you want to get everything in DBD, if you want to get all the characters and all the killers, all the survivors to proceed through with all the perks in the game, take about 510 million blood points. And if you're wondering about how much time that is, excluding the queue times and assuming you get about 25,000 blood points per match, that's about 3,400 hours, which is quite a bit of time. And if you're wondering how much is added to the grind every patch, that is about 35 million blood points every patch, or, oh, I just lost my notepad. Or about 233 hours to the grind. So that is quite crazy because a lot of people don't have that amount of time to invest in the game. I'd say a vast majority of players don't have that much time to invest in the game because this is 233 hours that you need to invest to re-max everything, assuming you already have it maxed. Every 3 months. Every 3 months you got to put in that amount of time, which is absolutely insane. Really the only way that you can keep up with this grind is if this game is your full-time job, which for a majority of people it's not, unless you're just like a content creator for DVD. And so I think it would be in the best benefit of behavior for people actually being able to play their game for accessibility's sake to reduce the grind. And so I put out a call on Twitter, and of course I heard a lot of ideas from the YouTube comment on the previous videos about ways to reduce the grind. And of course in that video, at the end of the video, I talked about the way that I would start off reducing the grind is through a recycling mechanic. And so if you don't know what a recycling mechanic is, it's pretty much if you sell something, say like you buy a common offering for 3,000 blood points, you can go on and you can resell it for 1,500 blood points. That way, you're not, of course, getting a refund for it, but you're at least getting some of the blood points back from recycling it, and you can, in turn, reinvest those blood points to where if you recycle, of course, like if you recycle 2 common offerings, then you can buy another common offering to like buy a common blood point offering. So like say you recycle 2 mists, you turn those 2 mists into 3,000 blood points again, and then you can turn those 3,000 blood points into another common blood point offering. And so through this, you can constantly recycle stuff you'll never use, like mist offerings or map offerings that you don't want to use, stuff like that, or items you don't want to use, so on and so forth. And you can reinvest that in things that you actually use, like point offerings or like med kits that you want to use, or flashlights that you want to use, stuff like that, so on and so forth. And by doing this, you're kind of like stimulating the blood point economy a little bit and making it to where people have less of a grind because they're getting what they want. It's a better player experience instead of seeing 500 missed offerings that you're never going to use in your inventory that you know are just a waste. You actually are able to actively like think about what you want to do with them and be able to use those in a way that benefits you and doesn't just feel like, oh wow, I'm just wasting my blood points on these things in order to get more perks, because a majority of the Bloodwebs are just stuff that you don't want. Because like if you're trying to get, like, say this is a Hemosyringe, Styptic, and Party Streamer or perks that you want, all along the way you'll get a bunch of stuff that you necessarily won't use. And so being able to control that a little bit and enhance the player experience and actually help reduce the grind by at least a little bit. As of course, like if you spend 60,000 blood points on a level 50 Bloodweb, getting even 30,000 of that back, that's half of your blood points that you get back by doing that, and you can reinvest on the next Bloodweb and already be halfway towards another level just from recycling the stuff that you got from the level that you bought. And so this would be a very good way to help reduce the grind of the game. I don't think it would have as massive of an impact as some of the other ideas that people will have said, but I think it would be a very healthy way for behavior to move. And I think this is something that I could most definitely see them doing, because while this would reduce the grind, I don't think this would be something that people would be like, oh, I need Legacy now, which I think is one of the biggest hurdles for them to get over, with people just like crying about Legacy and wanting Legacy because they're changing the blood point system, which people just need to be grateful that they change it, if they do change it. So beyond recycling, there are some other ideas that people have had. I've heard of another idea, which I think behavior could do as well, and this is increasing the rate at which you get blood points, BP rate. So there's a few different ways that you can do this. You can just flat out make it to where every match is 100% blood points, or not 100%, like 200% blood points. So you'll just, it's like another party streamer is added to the game. So instead of you getting like a max of 32,000 a game, you can get a max of 64,000 by, well, not like actually raising the cap, but just by doubling your blood points, like it's a built-in party streamer. And that's definitely, that could help. Of course, that would reduce the grind. It would cut the grind in half, because everybody would be able to get those blood points faster, and it'd reduce the grind. Instead of it being 3,400 hours and everything, it would be maths. Instead of it being 500 million, it would be like 250 million. And so, like, this would be an interesting way to do it, but I think this is the most boring way to do it. Just making the blood points, you get them faster. More interesting way to do this, I think, and a way to not only fix the grind a little bit, but also incentivize people to play Survivor and make Survivor less of a pain as an experience, is what they could do if they're messing with the blood point rates. And they can do this on the killer side as well, to where if you are acquiring, let's say you're playing Survivor and you get tunneled the entire game, but you're just a really good player and you lead the killer on for a 5-gen chase. Now, since all of the categories, if you don't know, all the categories in DBD, there's 4 categories for each side that you can put blood points into, or that you can get blood points from. And each of them have an 8,000 blood point cap. Now, if you get chased by the killer the entire game, you're going to have 8,000 in your boldness, and then your objective, you're going to maybe have like 100 from getting chased the entire game. You tap 1 gen, and then you have 100. And then your altruism, you're going to have nothing. And then other categories, you're just going to have nothing. And so you're going to have like max out objective, and then everything else is going to be like piss poor. And you may exit the match with like a little over 10,000 blood points, even though you did the most in the match. Now, what I think that they should do, especially for the Survivor side, is they should make it to where if you are, like, say you're getting chased the entire game, obviously, you getting chased is helping advance the game. And so if you're the one that's getting chased, if somebody is doing, like, a generator, and they pop the generator and they get, like, 2,000 points for popping the generator, I think that because you were the one that was getting chased, you should get half of that objective points. You should get 1,000 of that objective points, not taking away from the survivor that did it, of course, but it's just like an additional blood points that just enters into the game, and you get 1,000 for distracting the killer, because you were part of the reason why that generator got done. Or say, like, if somebody gets a save off and they get 1,000 points for the save, if like a safe unhook, then you get 500 of that for them saving, and just so on and so forth, to where if you're running the killer during the game and stuff is getting done because of you, then it just keeps on going into the other categories. And it makes it to where if somebody is a really good runner, then it's reflected onto the scoreboard, which I think would be very good. And of course, if they didn't want to do this, what they could also do is they can make it to where, like, say you max out a category, so you max out your boldness, you can make it to where the points that you get after you max out get evenly distributed to the other categories. So, like, say you have maxed out boldness and you get, like, say 300 blood points from doing something, then all the other categories would get 100 blood points distributed between them, and you could accumulate through that. Of course, like, it wouldn't be as good as if you were to do something for that category, like healing somebody or whatever, but it would be distributed amongst them. That is also something that could work, but that's a little bit more confusing. But that's an idea that I've heard, and so I thought I would say it. But I'd prefer if they did, like, the first idea where you get blood points for, like, running the killer while stuff gets done. I think that makes sense and would reflect the scoreboard a lot better. Now, that's definitely all stuff they can do. Increase the blood point gain, make the blood point gain during the match different. That's all well and good. This would definitely help reduce the grind, and I could definitely see them doing it, because this would be just like a natural way to change the grind for the game, and I think it would be also very good. and combined with recycling, I think this would be enough, honestly. If they did something with the BP rate and the recycling, I think it would be enough to reduce the grind, enough to where like behavior wants it to be. Because as much as we want the grind to be reduced, I don't think they're going to reduce as much as nearly most of us want it. But I could see them doing these two things. Now, going beyond that, some of the other changes that people have suggested are a lot crazier in terms of like changing up how it is currently. So one of the ideas that I heard, actually before I get into that, I'll go with a little bit more of a tame one. Also, going on to the BP rate, I had one suggestion from Cam on Twitter that the Rift, of course, if you know the Rift or the archives and everything, that if you complete the Rift, you continue to earn like Rift fragments, but those Rift fragments are automatically converted into blood points or shards. So when you complete the Rift, if you complete it early, like a few weeks early, then you're constantly getting a reward for completing it early. And so I think that's a really cool idea. I thought I'd mention that as well. So if you complete the Rift early, you get Rift fragments into BP/shards. I think it's a really cool idea. And I think that's something that should be in the game. I think it's just very natural. It makes sense if that was in the game. And I'd actually love to see them do that. All right, and now getting into the more of the crazy ideas that people have suggested. The first one, and it was just this by Mike on Twitter, but of course I had this written down before, but I thought I would give him credit because he's one of the few people that's mentioned it. Mike and a lot of other people have suggested that the prestige should be tied into the perk levels. And so let's say for like Prestige 0 and then Prestige 1 are unaffected. They are exactly the same. Nothing changes with them. But as soon as you get into P2, P2 starts to change. And now P2, the way that it would work is that the Prestige would reflect the start, or it would reflect the level of the perks that are in your Bloodweb. So having a P2 Bloodweb, all of the perks in your Bloodweb would be level 2. Automatically. And that would be a benefit of prestiging is that, yeah, you could stay at Prestige 0 or Prestige 1 and level up everything, but it would take longer than if you were to Prestige and like reinvest your blood points in that, because of course, like we said before, across all the levels, you have like 89 perk levels as Survivor. Or you have 89 perks as Survivor, but that's 89 times the 3 perk levels that are in the game. That's 267. And so you could definitely stay at Prestige 0 and you get 50 of the levels out of that, but you'd still have 217 left. And so it would be a gamble, not really a gamble, but it would be like more into your benefit to where if you go, okay, well, I have 267 levels. If I prestige twice, if I get from Prestige 0 to P1 and then Prestige 1 and to Prestige 2, then I can, obviously I'd sacrifice 100 levels to get there, but then my grind would be reduced because everything would be level 2. And then obviously you could go on to level 3 as well, where P3, all the perks would be level 3. And then at that point, when you're at P3, if you have 89 perks to acquire, then all of the perks you would get like on the first try. You don't have to level them up because they're all level 3. And so you'd only have 89 levels that you need to get through instead of 200 something. And so I think this is a really cool idea. It would give some meaning to prestiges. It would make it to where there's actually a use for them instead of right now to where there's not really use for them. People say there's a use for them, but I'm going to be honest with you, there's not. As somebody that's prestige all my characters, there's not a use. There's no reason to prestige. I think this is really cool. This could make the game feel a lot less grindy because it feels like when you're prestiging, you're actually forwarding the game. Because currently when you prestige, it feels like you're going like 2 steps back instead of actually doing anything. You're just doing it for completion's sake. And so I think this is a really cool idea, and this is something that should definitely be implemented into the game. And it would end up saving you blood points in the long run if you choose to invest in prestiging. So I really like this idea. This is one of the few that I actually want to see in the game. Another idea I got a lot from people is just to, instead of dealing with all this prestige nonsense or the perk level nonsense, is just to completely get rid of perk tiers altogether. Just make it to where every perk is level 3 at default, and Just don't worry about it. That'd make it to where instead of you having to deal with 200 something perk levels, instead of dealing with that, you would only have to deal with like the 89. And of course, that would heavily reduce the grind. Like, of course it would. Like, that would reduce the grind by like 77%. Is that right? Yeah. So like that'd be massive. That'd be crazy. But that is something I don't think behavior is gonna do, especially considering it would reduce the grind. I actually not cracked the numbers. I did the numbers on it, and if we actually got rid of perk tiers, of course it would reduce the grind by quite a lot. It would end up overall reducing the grind from 510 million, like we calculated before. It would reduce that to 297,120,000 blood points in order to unlock everything. And so, of course, if we divide that by 510 million, that is reducing the grind by about 42%, because we got to subtract that from this. So 42% of the grind would be gone if we got rid of perk levels. And that would, of course, help out. That would make it to where instead of it taking like 3,400 hours to max out the game, it would be closer to 1,700, because it's close to half the 42%. And of course, that's still a massive grind, but it's a lot more manageable. It's a lot more realistic for a lot of people. And this would be all lovely, but I don't think behavior is going to do it. I really don't, because it just, I think that I think behavior believes that the only reason people play their game is because of the grind, or at least is a major reason why people play the game. And for them to get rid of the grind almost completely by cutting it in half, that people will stop playing as much, which I don't think is true at all. To where if somebody is investing enough time into your game to where they're putting in 1,400 hours, I think they're going to play anyways. I think at that point, the person has put in enough time into the game to find their own fun, and they're going to keep on continuing to play, either because they're having fun with the game themselves, or they're playing with other people and having fun with other people. I think at that point, people are going to keep on playing. And at that point, they have all the builds. They have everything that they could possibly want to unlock, and now they can finally use it. And so I think this would be good, but I don't know if they would do it just because of how much it reduces the grind. Another concept that people have said to me, instead of buying perks, or not buying perks, instead of no perk levels, is just buying perks directly. Buying perks directly would, of course, have a similar effect to all perks being level 3. It would make it to where instead of... it'd actually help out a little bit more than having no perk levels, funnily enough. And the only reason it helps out a little bit more is just because you don't have to like go through the Bloodwebs and buy all like the junk that you don't want. If you could buy perks directly, it would actually save the grind by 43% instead of the no perk levels 42%. And that would be crazy. And so like basically the concept is like instead of like the RNG and the Bloodweb, you can just go into like the perk store and just buy directly. So like instead of you spending like you spend like 4,000 for the first perk, and then 5,000 for the second perk, and then 6,000 for the third level of the perk. So instead of you spending that 15,000 across 3 Bloodwebs, you would spend that 15,000 directly into the store, and you wouldn't have to buy junk from the Bloodweb, and the Bloodweb would just purely be for items and offerings and add-ons and stuff like that. And I think that would be really cool, but I think that would reduce what behavior considers fun about the grind, the slot machine nature of it, and so I don't think that they would do that, although that would help out quite a bit. And so out of all these, I think these are the most drastic ones that they could do, but I don't think that behavior's ever going to do them. I think that these are kind of like utopian ideas almost. I could see them most definitely doing a recycling mechanic. I could most definitely see them doing like increasing the BP rate in some way of like making it to where like the points are distributed a little bit better for like people that are playing more of the match, like survivors that are running around the killer. Could definitely see them doing that. And then I could definitely see them doing something with the Rift, where if you complete the Rift early, the Rift fragments get converted into BHVR shards. These are three things I could most definitely see behavior doing, and I don't think there's really any reason for them not to do it, because it wouldn't be as crazy of an impact as these ones, and it would make the player experience feel a lot better and feel like you're progressing faster, even if it's not as monumental as reducing the grind by half. And so, and that's almost better for a lot of players if it feels like you're actively like engaged with the game and what you're doing matters, than just the levers behind the curtains being changed without you being able to actually like see it, unless you like take a step back and look at the layout. And then, of course, I could see them like maybe doing this. The prestige levels, I would love to see them do it. In combination of with these three things. Oh, thank you, Windows, for wanting to restart. I'm not going to do that. I think these four things right here would make the grind feel a lot better, and would give meaning to prestige, and make the game just feel like so much better of experience. Because this is one of the things, and I actually want to make a video on this topic itself, is there's a ton of things that DBD could do outside of the actual gameplay that can make the player experience feel a lot better and make the game just feel a lot better in a whole and a lot less frustrating. And so I think all these things would make the game feel a lot less frustrating and feel a lot less grind, and make it just feel like a better experience overall. And so I hope that they do the recycling. I hope they do the like chaining up the BP rate. I hope they do something with the Rift, making it to where you can earn blood points by completing the Rift early. I hope they do something with the Prestige to make Prestige more meaningful. And now I wish that they would do these, but again, I don't think they would. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Me rambling about how you could possibly change the blood point system, the grind, and make it a little bit better. If you guys have any suggestions that I did not talk about today on how you would reduce the blood point grind, or ideas that you think would be really interesting, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. My next video of me talking with a notepad, I'm going to be talking about things that could change with the game that are outside of the actual gameplay elements of the game, everything outside of the match. That could be implemented in the game to make the game experience better. And so if you guys have any ideas for those, anything that is outside of the match that could make the experience better, I would love to hear them. And that video should be coming out in the next few days. And thank you guys for watching. And of course, I will see you in the next video. And if you liked the video, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment, because it helps out with the algorithm, helps out with the video, helps support the channel. And I would really appreciate it. All right, everybody, have a good rest of your day, night, or whatever. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.